guys, we're here at GenCon 2016 with one of our favorites, Eric Lang. Eric, how are you?
Hey, how's it going,
It's
Steve?
good to see you, man. We're here at the Th3rd World Studios booth, and there's an incredible game that is here, Arcane Academy. We've seen lines after lines after lines for this one. I believe it's all sold out at this point.
It is gone, yep.
Tell me about it, Eric. Tell me about Arcane Academy. How did this thing come about, and what is this game?
So, that's 3 questions.
I like to give you plenty of ammo.
I feel like the genie. I give you wishes 3. The first wish is, so Arcane Academy is it's a game based on a comic called Finding Gossamer that the publisher approached me and showed me this really cool comic that I kind of fell in love with.
Yeah.
That's a good all ages comic, and I've been looking for a way to make a game that's got all ages appeal.
And it's about essentially an autistic child that is really good at math and that kind of goes to another dimension because he's...
Yeah, well, so he discovers that math is magic, and that leads him on this sort of Pixar-ish adventure through through really cool puppy lands, meeting cool creatures and stuff. So I showed the comic to Kevin. Kevin Wilson, who's my co-designer.
Yeah.
I wanted to make a game with, like, the day he left FFG, I knew I wanted to make a game with him. And we found this comic, we're like, let's do this. This sounds really cool. So the story is awesome. It's kind of linear, and it doesn't necessarily lend itself well to a game. So I asked the publisher, could we, you have this really cool backstory with this wizard schools and stuff like that. Could we make that game? And they're like, yeah, of course you can. So
Excellent.
we made that game. So this game is Wizard School. So you guys, it's called Arcane Academy. It's a school that all the great wizards of Gossamer went to. And so the story is, literally, you are at Wizard School cramming for the final exams.
Wow.
You're building a little engine, your slate, your blackboard, of generating willpower and psionium, which is the crystals, what most people call it, to build items and cast really cool spells. Each one of them is worth prestige points, grades, and you're generating a cool little engine to with tiles on a board. You're generating a cool engine to generate those as quickly as you can, outracing everybody else through tile selection, grabbing them from the middle of the board, and completing assignments. When any player gets 8 assignments, it's pencils down. Everybody gets one last turn. Whoever's got the most points wins.
Cool.
It's pretty simple. The rules of the game are, on your turn, you exhaust one of your tiles, take the actions. It can chain off of other tiles in your thing, or you rest and you get rid of all your exhaustion tiles. That's it. And then after that, everything is just on the cards and on the combos that you can build up. And so, literally, when people start playing, I'm just like, I'm going to tell you a story, 2 seconds. I'm going to tell you the rules, 2 seconds. Let's dive in.
And then we start playing. Well, so you've been working with Kevin on this game. How did you guys want people to feel whenever they were playing Arcane Academy?
So, I personally, I obviously do not speak for the publisher, but to me, I thought this game really speaks to my OCD. And there's a little bit of OCD in all gamers.
Sure.
And so I wanted to make a game that that kind of scratches at the corner of your brain and makes you struggle between wanting to create the perfect chain effects on your board and actually pull off assignments. Because there's a point where you have to stop making your pretty board and get those assignments before somebody else beats you to it. And the decisions aren't agonizing, but they're really compelling. And so everybody's board ends up looking different. It looks really pretty, but that struggle is always apparent. And that's something that, without knowing that, it appeals to almost everybody. And so we really want people to scratch their heads, and of course, while looking at all this really cool, colorful art, be satisfied with what they ended up with.
Yeah. Well, what's the process between you and Kevin working together? So he's done Descent and Arkham Horror and these kinds of games. How do you guys get together and make something happen, right? Are you emailing back and forth? Do you sit down with a bunch of prototypes in front of you and say, this one, not that one, or this mechanic, not that mechanic? What does that look like?
Well, I mean, so I visit FFG very often, right? And Kevin lives in Minnesota. So we did a lot of in-person stuff where we just sit down and jam with some prototype bits. We prototype really, really fast. We go from, I'm not a big fan of just ideas, right? Everybody's got a million ideas. So we settle on something that we think has some magic to it, and we just get it out there. Iterate quickly, fail fast, get it done. And that we did that in about 24 hours in person.
Wow.
And then we just iterated from there and there. But I mean, that's still, even though it was already fun and kind of addictive, that's 5%. The rest of it is like agonizing over the little things that make a game, take a game from decent to good to great.
Yeah. How long did that whole process take you?
About 3 years.
Wow,
I mean, not
cool.
3 years continuous. We would spend a long periods away from the game while it was going through publisher stuff. A big part of one of the things that I've changed a little bit about is that I actually bake that into every game process. I always make sure to step away from a game. As soon as I get a game to like, oh, this is really, really cool, instead of rushing to the finish line, I'll often just put it away. And then just let it bake for a little while, let it marinate, come back as a stranger looking at somebody else's game, eviscerate it, and then start over.
Beautiful. Well, Eric, I have seen your name on a lot of boxes this year at Gen Con. You've got a bunch of releases for Cool Mini, you've got this Arcane Academy, and many others. How are you doing? How's the life of game designer Eric Lang right now?
It's pretty awesome, I gotta say. I mean, it's the industry's doing really well. Gaming is just exploding. Our brand of gaming, like hobby tabletop gaming, it's becoming more and more mainstream every year. So, like people like us are like we're riding that wave. You guys too, right?
Yeah.
So it's amazing. It doesn't. I love that even though I've been doing the same thing for 20 years, it always feels like we're moving forward. There's no stagnation whatsoever. We're always challenging ourselves with cool new stuff. At the end of the day, I mean, I don't really count numbers that much. I mean, I make a good living at it, but I'm just happy that I get to make games and not have to worry about any of the other stuff.
Well, I feel like I owe it to myself to ask you the traditional final question that I've been asking you every year, which is, given where you are now and what you've seen, do you have any predictions for what the future of tabletop gaming is going to look like?
I did. That all went out the window as soon as Pokemon Go launched. So I think Pokemon Go came in like a meteor, and I mean, you've seen it everywhere, right?
Yes.
That game actually keeps me up at night, going like they solved the ARG problem, and like the bridge from what we do, lifestyle gaming, to mainstream, just like exploded overnight. So I have no idea. I have zero idea. Like I'm laying awake at night thinking about what gaming is going to look like in a couple of years, and I have no idea, and that's super exciting.
Yeah.
So I got no predictions. Everything I said last year, well, it doesn't matter.
That's why we got to keep asking, Eric. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Arcane Academy, one of many from Eric Lang. He's teamed up with Kevin Wilson on this one, and it's amazing. 3rd World Studios is the publisher. Check that game out, and we got more coming from Gen Con 2016. Stay tuned.